Hi, Mrs. Walsh here in X-ray vision. I'm playing around with these effects. I kind of like it. So we are reading our read aloud, The Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus. We'll be reading chapters 12 and 13. Listen in X-ray vision, and then you'll be visualizing with illustrations on the Padlet wall. Okay, chapter 12. Oh, and I think that Henry is getting a little suspicious to me, so I'm just going to keep an eye out for it. Connor and I had been spending a lot of time together, so my parents asked me to invite him over for dinner after school. At lunchtime, I made my way to the bathroom as usual and washed my feet. I stared at the stall. I just couldn't do it that day. I felt too happy. And I was excited to see Connor and invite him over. I didn't need another bathroom stall lunch ruining my good mood. So I headed to the library to find Connor, and once more, taking the longer, quieter route around the office, I nearly tripped over that kid again as I rounded the corner. Gosh, I'm sorry, I said. Next time, I would definitely remember to jump over him. That's okay, he said softly, never raising his head. I walked away, but stopped a moment to look back at him. He stared down at his sandwich and grapes lying next to him. I wondered why he would be eating out here on the hot sidewalk by himself. He looked about as forlorn and pitiful as I must have looked, cowering in the bathroom stall to eat my lunch. How could I just walk past him again as though he were invisible, as though he were some speed bump in my way? I went back and stood over him. He looked up at me, his hoagie sandwich midway in his mouth. Sweat trickled down his brown cheeks. Do you mind if I sit down? I asked. He looked around for a second like he thought I must have been talking to the brick wall or the lamppost nearby. When he looked back at me, he shrugged. He shrugged his shoulders and said, okay. I dropped my school bag on the ground, eased the strap off from around my neck, and sat down. He watched as I carefully opened my bag with my toes and pulled out my lunch. I spread a napkin out in front of me and then lifted out my Cheetos, apple slices, granola bar, and peanut butter and jelly sandwich and arranged them on the napkin. What's your name? I asked as I opened the bag of Cheetos with my toes. Instead of giving me his name, he said, That's cool. How do you do that? Lots of practice. I'm Avon. He continued to watch with intense interest as I took out a Cheeto and popped it into my mouth. Zion, he said. Like the Bible? No, like the Matrix. Oh, I said, munching on my Cheeto. What's that? His mouth dropped open. Seriously? It's one of my parents' favorite movies. They love sci-fi stuff. They said I looked like Morpheus when I came out, all bald and mysterious. He frowned. I'm not allowed to watch it, though, because it's rated R. Oh, I won't be able to either. Bummer. This Morpheus guy sounds interesting. Zion rolled his eyes. My parents are nuts. They also named my brother Lando after Lando Calrissian, if you know who that is. Are you kidding? I am definitely allowed to watch Star Wars. Zion smiled. My parents would be impressed. I footed, actually, him a Cheeto. He took it from me without even flinching. Can I ask you something, Zion? He said, chewing on his Cheeto. Why do you eat out here on the sidewalk all by yourself? He slowly lifted a juice box to his lips and took a long swig. It's quiet out here. I tilted my head and raised an eyebrow at him. Is that the only reason? He stared at the ground but didn't answer me. It's okay, I said. I've been eating lunch in the bathroom. He looked up at me in surprise. I don't want other kids to watch me eat. Everyone likes to watch a fat guy eat. They want to see how much food he can stuff into his mouth. But you're not that fat, I said, and then cringed at my own words. It meant to sound nice, but it didn't sound so nice coming out. It's okay, I know I am. Well, I think you look great, I said. Zion handed me a grape. I took it from him with my foot and popped it into my mouth. So why have you been eating in the bathroom? He asked. I swallowed my grape. I don't want the other kids to watch me eat either. Why not? Because they'll think I'm gross. No, they won't. Yes, they will. How do you know that? Zion said. I just do. Once when I went to this children's museum with my parents, I sat down to play with Play-Doh at the table, and of course I had to play with my feet, and everyone at the table just stared at me. Well, it's interesting to see. Then this one kid cried out, "Gross, she's putting her feet in the Play-Doh." Well, kids are dumb, Zion said. Then his mom looked at me and said this. Would you mind not letting your daughter put her feet in the Play-Doh? Jerk, Zion muttered. What did your mom say? I smiled. She said that she would make sure I used my butt cheeks instead. Zion laughed, a big bellyful laugh. Oh, that's classic. I ate another Cheeto. Before that, I had never really realized people thought feet were gross. Anyway, that was right before starting kindergarten. You know what the first day of kindergarten is like for a 5-year-old with no arms? Zion grinned. Maybe even more difficult than for a chubby 5-year-old? Maybe. The kids asked me so many weird questions. I mimicked little kids' voices. Did someone chop your arms off? How do you finger paint with no fingers? How do you use scissors with no hands? How will you play duck, duck, goose? Are your armpits ticklish? How do you wipe peanut butter off your face? Actually, what the kids really asked was, how do you wipe poop off your butt? But I wasn't about to tell Zion that. And no, I'm still not telling you either. So just keep wondering. It was exhausting, I said. I bet they asked me stuff like, did you eat a skyscraper? And do you weigh more than my dad? I scowled. No wonder Zion was so insecure about his weight. I'm sorry, school really stinks sometimes, doesn't it? Yeah, you can do everything everyone else can do with your feet. Mostly, things are always harder, like the hokey pokey. And when the song says, put your right hand in, I kind of just stand there like a mannequin. And then I have nightmares about flag football. Try running and grabbing someone's flag with your foot at the same time. It's slightly difficult. Yeah, I can definitely see how that would be hard. The only sport I can really play well is soccer. Are you going to try out for the soccer team in the spring? I don't know, I said. I played soccer back home in Kansas, but I had a lot of friends and had always gone to the same school. I hardly know anyone here. Well, now you know me, Zion said. I smiled and handed Zion another Cheeto. Would you mind if I ate out here with you again sometime? He beamed. Okay. Zion and I ate the rest of our lunch together that day, hidden away on the far side of the office where no one could watch us. Chapter 13. I finally got to asking Connor over as we sat on the bus together that day after school. Turns out we were on the same bus route. Mom had been driving me to and from school, but I didn't see why she needed to keep doing that when the bus would drop me off a block from the Stagecoach Pass. I knew how busy she had been with the stuff at the park, that I didn't want her to have to stop everything in the middle of the day to come pick me up anymore. Is your mom working tonight? I asked him. Yeah, she won't be back until early tomorrow morning. Then you're coming over to my house-themed park apartment thingy for dinner. My parents want to meet you. I know you already met my dad briefly, but they want to meet you officially, especially after, I leaned in to whisper, Stakegate. Connor looked torn. I can come over after dinner, but then I have to go home. Excuse me, I'm going to read that again. Connor looked torn. I can come over until dinner, but then I have to go home. I sat back up. Why is your mom working all night? Why can't you just... Why? Your mom is working all night. Why can't you just stay? He shrugged and blinked his eyes rapidly. Well, maybe I can stay. We'll see. I guess, I said. Connor never ate lunch. He wouldn't eat ice cream with me, and now he didn't want to have dinner at my house. I was beginning to wonder if he was starving himself. I decided to change the subject. So I was thinking about what you said the other day, about how maybe someone you know off the Kavanaghs. I whispered the word oft in a case someone was listening to our conversation. Connor blinked at me. Yeah, I nodded. Yeah, and I was thinking we should maybe start considering the possibility that there is a murderer at Stagecoach Pass. Again, I whispered the word murderer. You can never be too careful when discussing such things. Who? Connor whispered. Could be anyone. There's this guy at the gold mine. We call him Mean Bob because he's just, so mean. Maybe he did it. Or maybe it's the guy who interviewed my parents, Gary, the accountant. Maybe he did it. Why? I don't know, to take over the park? But why would he want to take over the park? Money, I nodded. It's always about money. How much money do you think the park makes? Connor asked. I actually thought the park made negative money. Okay, well, maybe not money, I said, and I narrowed my eyes at Connor. Revenge. Revenge for what? I don't know yet, but I'm going to solve the great mystery I'm going to solve this great mystery all on my own, I announced. If you would like to assist me, you shall do it, sir. Okay, Connor said, not quite with the same enthusiasm or the British accent I had been going for. In my mind, great detectives always had British accents. We should go back to the storage shed, I said. But there's nothing in there except papers you can barely read and old props and junk. Yeah, but maybe there's something hidden there. Why else would it have all those signs that say keep out? Connor nodded. That is true. I tapped my foot on the bus floor. I've never had an exciting mystery to solve. Well, except for the time I woke up one morning with every inch of my hair, body, and bed covered in chocolate. Why? Connor asked. A Hershey Kiss fell out of my backpack onto my bed, and as I rolled around in it all night, that's what it did. Can you believe it? One Hershey Kiss. Connor didn't seem that impressed with my Hershey Kiss story. Maybe you should ask Madame Myrtle about it, he said. Shouldn't a psychic know all about that kind of stuff? Why, can't they, talk to dead people and stuff? She just reads palms, I said. Obviously, not very helpful to me. Connor smiled. You shan't worry. He raised a finger in the air. We shall solve this highly mysterious mystery ourselves. I was glad he used a terrible British accent that time. All right, chapters 12 and 13 on the Padlet wall. Draw your pictures and give me a sentence that goes with it. Can't wait to see them.